Hello and good morning. All right, just making sure we're live on Facebook. Good morning. I am so happy to be here live with you today. Can't believe it. We are on week 12 of the weekly word and reading the Bible, and I'd like to pray us in. Lord, you amaze me. I'm sure you amaze those who are listening. Lord, thank you so much for today. Thank you so much for yesterday. And thank you so much for tomorrow. Lord, your words are just so powerful for each and every one of us. And as we lean into Joshua this week, Lord, just let your words be edifying to you and reveal the things that are needed to those who are listening and watching. Thank you, Lord, in Jesus' name I pray. Amen. I'm so glad to be here with you. Last week, I had pre-recorded Deuteronomy, and Deuteronomy really stuck out to me quite a bit and made me pretty emotional on the things that were being said from Moses. And we've been going through this, and it's really been these different points of view. And we finally got to hear the point of view from Moses completely. And it was pretty intense, at least it was for me. As I was reading these words, it was really important to fully hear them and understand them. And I think I had mentioned, I don't know if I've truly ever read Deuteronomy the way that I was reading it that day. And it could have just been, the message that I was receiving. But I hope that you took the time to finish Deuteronomy. We're going to be jumping into Joshua today. And there were a couple things that I wanted to cover in Deuteronomy before we go to Joshua. And at the end of Deuteronomy in chapter 33, Moses blesses the people. And this is really the end of Moses's life. And I just find it really, really powerful inside of 33, all the way through. And he's really talking about each tribe and blessing them because, as we know, Moses had doubt and he is not going to see the promised land. The Lord told him that you will not be crossing over with them. You're not going to. And I think about this in the sense of consequences, right? The choices that we make as human beings. And sometimes there's the conversation of, oh, well, why me? And why is this happening to me? And honestly, it's based on choices. Sometimes the choices that we make, when you're kids, or if you have kids, there are consequences for those choices. If your kids make bad decisions, you're not going to go back on something, right? I mean, they have to learn. And I feel that that's what Moses was doing. That's what God was doing with Moses. So 33 is really, really powerful. I was reading some parts. There's some longer blessings for other tribes. There's some kind of just shorter one sentence blessings for others. And then we get to 34, which is the death of Moses. And this is, I believe, the most powerful thing. I actually, I am someone who obviously scrolls on TikTok, and I've come across God TikTok, Jesus TikTok, whatever you like to call it, and there's always something else that's being brought up or discussed or broken down, and the death of Moses was one of them. And in this, if you didn't know it already, the Lord actually buried Moses, and I could only imagine what an honor that would be. Right. And it says, then Moses went up to the Mount Nebo from the plains of Moab and climbed Pisgah Peak, which is across from Jericho. And the Lord showed him the whole land, from Gilead as far as Dan, all the land of Naphtali, the land of Ephraim and Manasseh, all the lands of Judah extending to the Mediterranean Sea, the Negev, the Jordan Valley with Jericho, the city of palms as far as Zor. Then the Lord said to Moses, this is the land I promised and owed to Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob when I said, I will give it to your descendants. I have now allowed you to see it with your own eyes, but you will not enter that land. So Moses, the servant of the Lord, died there in the land of Moab, just as the Lord had said. The Lord buried him in the valley near Bethpor in Moab, but to this day no one knows the exact place. Moses was 120 years old when he had died, yet his eyesight was clear and he was as strong as ever. The people of Israel mourned for Moses on the plains of Moab for 30 days until the customary period of mourning was over. Now Joshua, son of Nun, was full of spirit of wisdom, for Moses had laid his hands on him. So the people of Israel obeyed him, doing just as the Lord had commanded Moses. There has never been another prophet in Israel like Moses, whom the Lord knew face to face. The Lord sent him to perform all the miraculous signs and wonders in the land of Egypt against Pharaoh and all his servants and his entire land. With mighty power, Moses performed terrifying acts in the sight of all Israel. And I believe that is such a powerful ending to Moses's life. It really shows that there was nobody else like Moses until we get to the New Testament and Jesus comes. It's really this powerful, paragraph in this chapter that is really expressing to you in the Old Testament of how the world began and all of these things that were going on. So I just thought that was really important to share with you because it's something that we really need to hold on to. And the things that are said in Deuteronomy, the things that we've been, going over each chapter that we're going over in the Old Testament. So as we head into Joshua, I'm not going to read all of Joshua. I just want to let you know I will go through kind of each chapters and what they say. I'm going to point out some important parts of Joshua because Joshua obviously is the one that is now leading God's people into the promised land, into this covenant. There is a point in Joshua. It's the renewed covenant that I will read the entire chapter, which I think is very, very important. So in Joshua, the Lord's charge, after the death of Moses, the Lord's servant, the Lord spoke to Joshua, son of Nun, Moses' assistant, and said, Moses, my servant, is dead. Therefore, the time has come for you to lead these people, the Israelites, across the Jordan River into the land I'm giving them. I promise you what I promised Moses. Wherever you set foot, you will be on the land I have given you. From the Negev wilderness in the south to the Lebanon mountains in the north, from the Euphrates River to the east to the Mediterranean Sea in the west, including all the land of the height of the Hittites. No one will be able to stand against you as long as you live, for I will be with you as I was with Moses. I will not fail you or abandon you. Be strong and courageous, for you are the one who will lead these people to possess all the land I swore to their ancestors I would give them. Be strong and very courageous. Be careful to obey all the instructions Moses gave you. Do not deviate from them, turning either to the right or to the left. Then you will be successful in everything you do. Study this book of instruction continually. Meditate on it day and night, so you will be sure to obey everything written in it. Only then will you prosper and succeed in all you do. This is my command. Be strong and courageous. Do not be afraid or discouraged, for the Lord your God is with you wherever you go. I am sure that each of you, hopefully, at some point in time, you have heard that section. You have heard that verse. And why is it important? I believe that it is important because, again, it's God telling you what you need to listen to. And I believe that this truly still reigns so true for us right now. And there is a huge part of me that each word in this Bible is something that we should live by. I know that I might ruffle some feathers with this, but everything still reigns true from the old to the new. Are there some things that have maybe been switched a little bit, things that have been changed once Jesus comes? Sure. But these are still principles and things to live by, so that we are Christ-like, so that we are truly those images that God has made us in. And I think this is also a powerful verse in here, being strong and courageous. And yes, he's talking about leading, but this can apply to almost everything in your life, and I think one of the most powerful verses in here is when he says that I will never leave you or abandon you. He's not going to fail you. I'm sorry, I will not fail you or abandon you. And then for him to say, study this book of instruction continually, meditate on it day and night, so you will be sure to obey everything written in it. Be strong and courageous. Don't be afraid. Again, I mean, we know how many times does it say, don't be afraid? How many times in the Bible does it say that, like, stop being afraid, stop being afraid? So I believe this is such a powerful turn of events now, going from from Moses to Joshua. Israel is no longer wandering. They're no longer in the 40 years of in the wilderness, right? They've kind of come up for fresh air. They're standing on the very edge of the promised land that was promised to them. Moses is gone. Joshua is now leading, and the promise is right there. And even though that promise was given to them years and years and years ago, there's still going to be a requirement for them to step in and to truly listen to the instruction and believe what God is giving them. And he didn't want them to move into this promise automatically, right? There were steps that had to go into this, but he wanted to invite them to walk into it. Right? There are a lot of things that have to take place still. There are things that they have to conquer, cities and kings. And it says Joshua's charge to the Israelites. Joshua then commanded the officers of Israel to go through the camp and tell the people to get their provisions ready. In 3 days, you will cross the Jordan River and take possession of the land the Lord your God is giving you. When Joshua called together all of the tribes, he told them, remember what Moses, the servant of the Lord, commanded you. The Lord your God is giving you a place of rest. He has given you this land. Your wives, children, and your livestock may remain here in the land of Moses assigned to you on the east side of the Jordan River. But your strong warriors, fully armed, must lead the other tribes across the Jordan to help them conquer their territory. Stay with them until the Lord gives them rest, as he has given you rest, and until they too possess the land of the Lord your God is giving them. Only then may you return and settle here on the east side of the Jordan River in the land that Moses, the servant of the Lord, assigned you. Then answered Joshua. They answered him, and they said, we will do whatever you command us, and we will go wherever you send us. We will obey you just as we obeyed Moses, and may the Lord your God be with you as he was with Moses. Anyone who rebels against your orders and does not obey your words and everything you command will be put to death. So be strong and courageous. So that was really the telling him, like, okay, like, we have your back. Like, we totally understand. So now it goes into the Rahab protecting the spies. And I'm sure a lot of you have heard this story. And it is about a prostitute named Rahab. And I'm probably pronouncing it wrong, and you can correct me. Then Joshua secretly sent out 2 spies from the Israelite camp at Acacia Grove. He instructed them, scout out the land on the other side of the Jordan River, especially around Jericho. So the 2 men set out and came to the house of a prostitute named Rahab and stayed there that night. But someone told the king of Jericho, some Israelites came here tonight to spy out the land. So the king of Jericho sent orders to Rahab, bring out the men who have come into your house, for they have come to spy out the whole land. Rahab had hidden the 2 men, but she replied, yes, the men were here earlier, but I didn't know where they were from. They left the town at dusk, as the gates were about to close. I don't know where they went. If you hurry, you could probably catch up with them. She actually had taken them up to the roof and hidden them beneath the bundles of flax she had laid out. So the king's men went looking for the spies along the road leading to the shallow crossing of the Jordan River. As soon as the king's men had left, the gate of Jericho was shut. Before the spies went to sleep that night, Rahab went up to the roof to talk to them. I know the Lord has given you this land, she told them. We are all afraid of you. Everyone in this land is living in terror, for we have heard how the Lord made a dry path for you through the Red Sea, where you left Egypt. And now we know what you did to Sihon and Og, the two Amorite kings east of the Jordan River, whose people you completely destroyed. No wonder our hearts have melted in fear. No one has the courage to fight after hearing such things, for the Lord your God is the supreme God of the heavens above the earth below. Now swear to me by the Lord that you will be kind to me and my family since I have helped you. Give me guarantee that when Jericho is conquered, you will let me live, along with my father and my mother and my brother and my sisters and all of their families. We offer our own lives as a guarantee for your safety, the men agreed. If you don't betray us, we will keep our promise and be kind to you when the Lord gives us the land. Then, since Rahab's house was built into the town wall, she let them down by a rope through the window. Escape to the hill country, she told them. Hide there for 3 days from the men searching for you. Then, when they have returned, you can go on your way. Before they left, the men told her, We will be bound by oath we have taken only if you follow these instructions. When we come into the land, you must leave this scarlet rope hanging from your window through which you let us down. And all your family members, your father, mother, brothers, and all your relatives must be here inside the house. If they go out into the street and are killed, it will not be our fault. But if anyone lays a hand on people inside the house, we will accept the responsibility for their death. If you betray us, however, we are not bound by this oath in any way. I accept your terms, she replied, and she sent them on their way, leaving the scarlet rope hanging from the window. The spies went up the hill country and stayed there for 3 days. The men who were chasing them searched everywhere along the road, but they finally returned without success. Then the two spies came down from the hill country, crossed the Jordan River, and reported to Joshua all that had happened to them. The Lord has given us the whole land, they said, for all the people in the land are terrified of us. So I always wonder, right, why there are certain stories that are inside of the text and for what the reason is for it. And honestly, this is just a show of true faith. So, and how things spread, right? And how the message spreads of what is going on and the greatness of God and the things that are happening, to where this woman, I mean, hats off to her for being like, oh yeah, they were here, but they're not here anymore. I'm not really sure where they went. And, again, it just kind of goes to show, I mean, yes, there's a lot of men in the Bible, but talking about these women and the things that they did because they believed. And they believed the power of the Lord. They believed and they had faith in the Lord and the things that he was doing and the promise that was going on, right? And there's a huge teaching when it comes to this, right? And just like I had talked about with the promises, right? And to be very strong and courageous. This woman was being strong and courageous. And courage is definitely not the absence of fear. Courage is choosing obedience in the presence of fear. Okay? Like, we can have all the courage in the world, but still have fear. And I wouldn't say that Joshua wasn't fearless, because I'm sure he was like, okay, Moses is gone, and now it's all on me to lead, these thousands of people to conquer these lands. But he was faithful, and that's why he was chosen. He was faithful to what was being promised and the covenant of the Lord. So as you go into chapter 3, it's the Israelites crossing the Jordan. It's talking about them crossing and the instructions to purify yourselves, for they're going to do, God was going to do great wonders. And in 4, there's the memorials to the Jordan crossing. And this is something I read this morning that I thought was very interesting. And I almost feel like as we're reading it, right, cover to cover, we have these little signs. And it says that when all the people had crossed the Jordan, The Lord said to Joshua, "Now choose 12 men, one from each tribe. Tell them, take 12 stones from the very place where the priests are standing in the middle of the Jordan, carry them out, and pile them up at the place where you will camp tonight." So Joshua called together all 12 men he had chosen, one from each of the tribes. He told them, "Go to the middle of the Jordan in front of the ark of the Lord your God. Each of you must pick up one stone and carry it on your shoulder, 12 stones in all, one for each of the tribes of Israel. We will use these stones to build a memorial. In the future, your children will ask you, 'What do these stones mean?' And you will tell them, 'They remind us that the Jordan River stopped flowing when the ark of the Lord's covenant went across. These stones will stand as a memorial along the people of Israel forever.'" 12 stones. Where do you think I'm going with this? 12 stones. Jesus had 12 disciples. Just saying, there's some breadcrumbs being left here. So the men did as Joshua had commanded. They took the 12 stones from the middle of the Jordan River, one for each tribe, just as the Lord told Joshua. They carried them to the place where they camped for the night and constructed the memorial there. Joshua also set up another pile of 12 stones in the middle of the Jordan at the place where the priests who carried the Ark of the Covenant were standing. And they were there to this day. And they're there to this day. The priests who were carrying the ark stood in the middle of the river until the Lord's commands that Moses had given to Joshua were carried out. Meanwhile, the people hurried across the riverbed. And when everyone was safely on the other side, the priests crossed over with the ark of the Lord as the people watched. The armed warriors from the tribes of Reuben, Gad, and half of the Manasseh led the Israelites across the Jordan, just as Moses had directed. These armed men, about 40,000 strong, were ready for battle, and the Lord was with them as they crossed over to the plains of Jericho. Hold on one second. I'm going to let my dog out. You can probably still hear her, but I shut the door. And the Lord said to Joshua, "Command the priests carrying the Ark of the Covenant to come up out of the riverbed." So Joshua gave the command, and as soon as the priests carrying the Ark of the Lord's Covenant came up out of the riverbed and their feet were high on the ground, the water of the Jordan returned and overflowed its banks as before. It kind of reminds me of splitting the Red Sea, right? And it's just, everything in here just amazes me. And I don't know if it does for you, but there's just so much that is going on. And there's so many of these tiny little breadcrumbs that are being shared, and them crossing the Jordan, God telling the priest to step into the water before it parts, and for me, it's kind of like, miracles, these miracles that are going on, these miraculous things that are happening, right? It didn't come first, but it's that step. And I think that's a huge part of the teaching in here, is that you have to keep moving forward, even if you're not sure where that next step is going to take you. And I truly believe that, Joshua was stepping into that, and he was leading people into this as well. And the 12 stones, from the 12 tribes. For me, that's just it's almost like a little salt and pepper. It's like a little, oh, here you go. And you may have skipped past it. It may be something that you don't remember. It may be something that you're thinking, oh, like, oh yeah, we read something like, yeah, he's got 12 disciples. Okay, well, it's these little pieces. And faith has a huge part of this, and this obedience and this courage. I think a lot of times people talk to people and they say like, oh my gosh, like you're so courageous. Being courageous, like I had said before, doesn't mean you're not scared. It just means that you have enough faith to overcome the fear. So in 5, Israel reestablishes the covenant ceremonies. So a lot of the ceremonies that we talked about in Deuteronomy, a lot of the ceremonies that we talked about in Leviticus and in Numbers, all of these things that were happening in all of these instructions. And then it comes to the fall of Jericho. and talking about how the Lord was with them. And there was a Lord commander from the Lord that confronted Joshua. And you can say it's a man, you can say it's an angel, you can say, I'm sure, whatever it is that you want to say it is. But it says when Joshua, this is, and just for reference, chapter 5, verse 13, is when Joshua was near the town of Jericho, he looked up and saw a man standing in front of him with a sword in hand. Joshua went up to him and demanded, "Are you friend or foe?" "Neither one," he replied. "I am the commander of the Lord's army." At this, Joshua fell from his face to the ground in reverence. "I am at your command," Joshua said. "What do you want your servant to do?" The commander of the Lord's army replied, "Take off your sandals, for the place where you are standing is holy." And Joshua did as he was told. It's this small little piece in here. And it's such confidence, right? It's like, I'm neither. I'm the commander of the Lord's army. I'm here to handle business. I'm neither friend or foe. To me, I'm not sure what I would think about that. I'd be like, okay, so are we friends or no? Because if you're a part of God, the Lord, you have to wouldn't, but it's such a it's so I don't know any other words to use, honestly, because powerful is just the only thing that comes to mind. It's such a powerful and strong response. Neither. I'm the commander of the Lord's army. And Joshua was like, oh, I can only imagine, oh no, okay, what do you want me to do? So then there's the fall of Jericho and what is going on in here. And it talks about people hearing the ram's horns, being charged into the town. Could you imagine seeing all these people in the ark of the, you have the priests holding up stuff and you have people just charging for your town? That would be a really terrifying thing. And I mean, thousands of people, right? And it talks about not a single word from any of you until I tell you to shout, then shout. So the ark of the Lord was carried around the town once a day. And then everyone returned to spend it in the night of the camp. And this is talking about the march, right? Really kind of ramping it up. And of course, in the fall of Jericho, only Rahab the prostitute and the others in her house will be spared, for she protected our spies. So that promise is still being kept for what she did. And I believe that is super, super powerful to know, because it was something that she did, and she protected them. She protected them, and she was still proclaimed. So it would be, I just got a message, so I want to, hopefully I can read it. Maybe I can read it on my phone, talking about how Rahab is it has a generational connection to Jesus. And so again, you may have to do some research and look into this. Why is it that only certain people are mentioned, right? These little breadcrumbs that are being left for us. In chapter 7, A defeats the Israels. So again, there's this, they're going through to claim all of these lands. And there's also things that are happening during this, right? So, you have all these tribes, you have all these people, you have the instructions that were met, you have people that we've talked about before that are complaining. And they're always saying it's not good enough. There's always something better for them, right? And people are still sinning. There's still people that are stealing. There's still people that are lying. There's still people that are doing these things that they shouldn't be doing. So, and those things are still in here. It's in chapter 7, verse 16, talking about what was going on. Again, because people are still being all stupid. I'm sorry. They're just, to me, it's, and I don't, because I'm not a perfect person. I'm an imperfect person. But it's just, I mean, if I was living in this time, I mean, it'd be pretty clear that you need to follow instructions of like what's going on. And some people will say, oh, well, it was just too difficult, all the instruction, like everything that you had. And I say this because I've heard people say this before, that the instructions that were left were too harsh. And I now, going into my 40s, I don't think so. I don't think that they were that difficult. I really don't. I mean, they didn't have social media. They didn't have TV. They didn't have phones. There wasn't really a lot that, you could, you just kind of do the thing that you do. Be honest with you. It's kind of how I feel about it. Then 8, of course, the Israelites defeating. And then the Lord's covenant is renewed once more in 8. And this one here is when Joshua built an altar to the Lord. 8, verse 30. The God of Israel on Mount Ebal, he followed the commands that Moses, the Lord's servant, had written in the book of instruction. Make me an altar from stones that are uncut and have not been shaped with iron tools. Then on the altar they presented burnt offerings and peace offerings to the Lord. As the Israelites watched, Joshua copied onto the stones of the altar the instructions Moses had given them. Then all the Israelites, foreigners and native born alike, along with the elders, officers, and judges, were divided into 2 groups. One group stood in front of the Mount Gerizim, and the other in front of Mount Ebal. Each group faced each other, and between them stood the Levitical priests carrying the Ark of the Lord's covenant. This was all done according to the commands that Moses, the servant of the Lord, had previously given for the blessing of the people of Israel. Joshua then read them the blessings and curses Moses had written in the book. Every word of every commandment that Moses had ever given was read to the entire assembly of Israel, including the women and children and the foreigners who lived among them. So this is when they had conquered, right? And we're renewing this covenant. We're keeping tried and true to what's going on. And something that just came is it's kind of a way of worship, right? Like, thank you for getting us to this, and thank you for the blessings, and thank you for what you did for me today, and thank you for having a roof over my head. It's that kind of thing, renewing that covenant with him. And then in 10, Israel defeats the southern armies, so they're still going through and defeating things. This talks about Joshua killing the 5 southern kings. So wiping out these entire armies and lands, and I guess you could kind of say countries in a way, of completely just getting rid of them, and the towns and the kings. And this here is when Joshua had actually taken these 5 kings and put them in a cave, and they covered it with rocks. And they brought out the kings after they had covered them, and then brought them out. And they said, come and put your feet on the king's necks. And they did, talking to his army. And it says, don't ever be afraid or discouraged, he told his men. Be strong and courageous, for the Lord is going to do all of this to all of your enemies. And Joshua killed each of the 5 kings and impaled them on 5 sharp-ended poles, where they were hung until evening. Now, this isn't like, that right there, like, that is not like the nicest picture to be painted. It's not. But it's the reality of what's going on. Do not be afraid or discouraged, for he is going to do this to all of your enemies. He impaled the 5 kings. Like, he impaled them. Like, Joshua's not messing around. He was like, all right. You have to imagine the stature and the composure that he also had to hold, because, in a sense, this is killing people, right? But he's doing it in the name of the Lord and what is being promised to them. So you have to be careful not to get a big head, right? Because of the power that you hold. So the humbling that would have to take place, right? And then in chapter 11, Israel defeats the northern armies. In chapter 10, they're also talking about Israel destroying the southern towns. And then in 12, kings being defeated east of the Jordan. So now, and then the west. And they list all of the kings that were destroyed. This whole little list right here. The king of Jericho, the king of Ai, the king of Jerusalem, Hebron, Jarmuth. I mean, it just, all of them. In all, 31 kings were defeated. So they were all defeated. And then the land yet to be conquered in 13. When Joshua was an old man, the Lord said to him, "You are growing old and much land remains to be conquered." So again, this isn't something that happened overnight and just, right? This is taking time to do these things. It's taking time to take over lands and move your people, right? They don't have cars, right? And they have their feet and they have animals to get there. It's not that these people are just like, oh, I'm going to take a flight there. We're going to conquer it and then we're going to come back. And then, right? There are so many things. There's so much time that is taken to do this. It says this is the territory that remains. All the regions of the Philistines and Jeshurites and the large territory of the Canaanites extending from the stream of Shahor and the border of Egypt, northward to the boundary of Ekron. It includes the territory of the 5 Philistine rulers, Gaza, Ashud, Askelon, Gath, and Ekron. The land of the Avites in the south also remains to be conquered. In the north, the following area has not been conquered. All the land of the Canaanites, including Meria, which belongs to the Sidonians, stretching northward to the Apek on the border of the Amorites. So God's telling him, like, all right, you still got all these places to go, bud. Like, I know you're old, but we have things to do. It says, I myself will drive these people out of the land ahead of the Israelites. So be sure to give this land to Israel as a special possession, just as I have commanded you. Include all this territory as Israel's possession when you divide this land among the 9 tribes and the half tribe of Manasseh. I totally butchered that. I'm sorry. So then he's talking about the land divided east of the Jordan, the allotment for the tribe of Levi, the land given to the tribe of Reuben, the land given to the tribe of Gad, the land given to the half tribe, the land divided the west of the Jordan, Caleb's requests. So we have the tribe of Judah led by Caleb. So he has a request. He said, remember what the Lord said to Moses, the man of God, about you and me when we were at the Kadesh. I was 40 years old when Moses, the servant of the Lord, sent me from Kadesh to explore the land of Canaan. I returned and gave an honest report, but my brothers who went with me frightened the people from entering the promised land. For my part, I wholeheartedly followed the Lord my God. So that day Moses solemnly promised me, the land of Canaan on which you are just walking will be your grant of land, and that your descendants forever, just because you wholeheartedly followed the Lord. Now, as you see, the Lord has kept me alive and well, as he promised, for these 45 years since Moses made this promise, even while Israel wandered in the wilderness. Today, I'm 85 years old. I am as strong now as I was when Moses sent me on that journey, and I can still travel and fight as well as I could then. So give me the hill country that the Lord promised me. You will remember that as scouts, we found the descendants at Enoch living in the great walled towns. But if the Lord is with me, I will drive them out of the land, just as the Lord said. Joshua blessed Caleb and gave Hebron to him as the portion of his land. Hebron still belongs to the descendants of Caleb, wholeheartedly following the Lord to this day. And the land had rest from war. So that's important. Claiming what God has given you, right? Saying, okay, well, God promised. And I mean, how many of us know that, okay, well, God promised this to me. He says it so many different times, the promises that God has given us. We have to claim those. Be like, okay, I'm here. It's almost in a way of like, I've come to collect. That's right. Good for you, Caleb. Come to collect. Get your land, 85-year-old who's strong. I mean, bless their hearts. It's so funny. I had a conversation with Kylie about this the other day, and we were talking about dinosaurs. I know this is off topic, but I was talking to her. I said, people live for thousands of years, okay, until God said, that's enough. And obviously God knew, and he knows everything, and he knows exactly what's going to happen and with people and how things are going on. But I just find it interesting that so many people talk about things and talk about, millions and this of years ago and all of that. Like, it's possible. Just like when we read about the giants, right? Like, people talk about, these people being so huge. I mean, why wouldn't there be creatures, because God created everything, that were what people like to call dinosaurs? I mean, that word came up in the 1800s, so it's not like, but claim your land, bud. And, for people to be super strong, and, I explained to Kylie, for people to live as long as they did, there weren't diseases. There weren't, these things that were causing so much chaos like it is now, to where some people don't live into their 60s. And it makes me sad. Again, talking about Caleb, the towns allotted to Judah, we're in chapter 15 there. Chapter 16, the land that was given. Again, we're continuously just giving people their lands now, right? We're having people and their descendants and their families, take over these lands that were promised to them. The land given to Benjamin, Simon, Asher, Issachar, Zebulun, Naphtali, Dan. It's so funny. It's probably Don is probably how it's pronounced. And then the land given to Joshua. After all the land was divided among the tribes, the Israelites gave a piece of land to Joshua as his allocation. For the Lord said that he could have any town he wanted. He chose Timnath Serah in the hill country of Ephraim. He rebuilt the town and lived there. These are the territories that the Ezelar the priest, Joshua son of Nun, and tribal leaders allocated as grants of land to the tribes of Israel by casting sacred lots in the presence of the Lord at the entrance of the tabernacle at Shiloh. So the division of the land was completed. In chapter 20, the cities of refuge. Chapter 21, the towns given to the Levites. Chapter 22, the eastern tribes that are returning home. So they are returning home from their mission, the things that Moses had told them to do. In 23, Joshua's final words to Israel, and then going into 24, the Lord's covenant renewed. So in 23, the years had passed, and the Lord had given the people of Israel rest from all of their enemies. Joshua, who was now very old, called together all the elders, leaders, judges, and officers of Israel. He said to them, I am now a very old man. You have seen everything the Lord your God has done for you during my lifetime. The Lord your God has fought for you against your enemies. I have allotted to you as your homeland all the land of the nations yet unconquered, as well as the land of those we have already conquered, from the Jordan River to the Mediterranean Sea in the west. This land will be yours, for the Lord your God himself will drive out all the people living there now. You will take possession of their land, just as the Lord your God promised you. Be very careful to follow everything Moses wrote in the book of instruction. Do not deviate from it, turning either to the right or to the left. Make sure you do not associate with the other people still remaining in the land. Do not even mention the names of their gods, much less swear by them or serve them or worship them. Rather, cling tightly to the Lord your God, as you have done until now. For the Lord has driven out great and powerful nations for you, and no one has yet been able to defeat you. Each one of you will put to a flight 1,000 of the enemy, for the Lord your God fights for you, just as he has promised. Be very careful to love the Lord your God. But if you turn away from him and cling to the customs of the survivors of these nations remaining among you, and if you intermarry with them, Then know for certain that the Lord your God will no longer drive them out of your land. Instead, there will be a snare and a trap to you, a whip on your backs and thorny brambles to your eyes, and you will vanish from this good land the Lord your God has given you. Soon I will die, going the way of everything on earth. Deep in your hearts, you know that every promise of the Lord your God has come true. Not a single one has failed. But as surely as your Lord your God has given you the good things he promised, he will also bring disaster on you if you disobey him. He will completely destroy you from its good land he has given you. If you break the covenant of the Lord your God by worshiping and serving other gods, his anger will burn against you, and he will quickly vanish from the good land he has given you. So, again, it sounds very almost to the T of what Moses was saying. So, this is the covenant that is renewed. When Joshua summoned all the tribes of Israel to Shechem, including their elders, leaders, judges, and officers, they came and presented themselves to God. Joshua said to the people, "This is what the Lord, the God of Israel, says. Long ago, your ancestors, including Tahar, the father of Abraham and Nahor, lived beyond the Euphrates River, and they worshipped other gods. But I took your ancestor Abram from the land beyond the Euphrates and led him into the land of Canaan. I gave him many descendants through his son Isaac. To Isaac I gave Jacob and Esau. Esau I gave the mountain of Seir, while Jacob and his children came down into Egypt. Then I sent Moses and Aaron, and I brought terrible plagues on Egypt, and afterward I brought you out as free people. But when your ancestors arrived at the Red Sea, the Egyptians chased after you with chariots and charioteers. When your ancestors cried out to the Lord, I put darkness between you and the Egyptians. I brought the sea crashing down on the Egyptians, drowning them. With your own very eyes you saw what I did. Then you lived in the wilderness for many years. Finally, I brought you into the land of the Amorites on the east side of the Jordan. They fought against you, but I destroyed them before you. I gave you victory over them, and you took possession of their land. Then Balak, the son of Zippor, king of Moab, started a war against Israel. He summoned Balaam, son of Bor, to curse you, but I would not listen to them. Instead, I made Balaam bless you, and so I rescued you from Balak. When you crossed the Jordan River and came to Jericho, the men of Jericho fought against you, as did the Amorites, the Perizzites, and the Canaanites, and the Hittites, and the Gershites, and the Hivites, and the Jebusites. But I gave you victory over them, and I sent terror ahead of you to drive out the two kings of the Amorites. It was not your swords or bows that brought you victory. I gave you land you had not worked on, and I gave you towns you did not build. The towns where you are now living, I gave you the vineyards and the olive groves for food, though you did not plant them. So fear the Lord and serve him wholeheartedly. Put up forever the idols your ancestors worshipped when they lived beyond the Euphrates River and in Egypt. Serve the Lord alone. But if you refuse to serve the Lord, then choose today whom you will serve. Would you prefer the God your ancestors served beyond the Euphrates, or will it be the gods of the Amorites in those lands you now live? But as for me and my family, we will serve the Lord." The people replied, "You would never abandon the Lord and serve other gods, for the Lord our God is the one who rescued us and our ancestors from slavery in the land of Egypt. He performed mighty miracles before our very eyes as he traveled through the wilderness among our enemies as he preserved us. It was the Lord who drove out the Amorites and the other nations living in the land. So we too will serve the Lord, for he alone is our God." Then Joshua warned the people, "You are not able to serve the Lord, for he is holy and a jealous God. He will not forgive your rebellion and your sins. If you abandon the Lord and serve other gods, he will turn against you and destroy you, even though he has been so good to you." But the people answered Joshua, "No, we will serve the Lord." "You are a witness to your own decision," Joshua said. "You have chosen to serve the Lord." "Yes," they replied, "we are witnesses to what we have said." "All right then," Joshua said, "destroy the idols among you and turn your hearts to the Lord God of Israel." The people said to Joshua, "We will serve the Lord our God. We will obey him alone." So Joshua made a covenant with the people that day at Shechem, committing them to follow the decrees and regulations of the Lord. Joshua recorded these things in the book of God's instructions. As a reminder of their agreement, he took a huge stone and rolled it beneath a terebinth tree beside the tabernacle of the Lord. Joshua said to the people, "This stone has heard everything the Lord said to us. It will be a witness to testify against you if you ever go back on your word to God." Then Joshua sent all the people away to their own homelands. After this, Joshua son of Nun, the servant of the Lord, died at the age of 110. They buried him in the land he had been allocated at Timnath-Seri in the hill country of Ephraim, north of Mount Gosh. The people of Israel served the Lord throughout the lifetime of Joshua and of the elders who outlived him, those who had personally experienced all that the Lord had done for Israel. The bones of Joseph, which the Israelites had brought along with them when they left Egypt, were buried at the Shechem in the plot of land Jacob had bought from the sons of Hamor for 100 pieces of silver. This land was located in the territory allotted to the descendants of Joseph. Eleazar, son of Aaron, also died. He was buried in the hill country of Ephraim in the town of Gibeath, where he had been given to his son Phinehas. I know we kind of threw Joshua there, but there are some special verses in there, and I've seen, and I'm sure you probably saw my smile when I said it. But as for me and my family will serve the Lord. 24, 15 in Joshua. And there's a reason why. And, establishing these things, they have taken the lands, the promises have been made, and now it's time to confirm that promise. The promise is sustained by the obedience of the people, and it wasn't just by the faith. It was now it's okay, we've seen the victory, so now we need to follow the Lord. And if you're not going to follow him, state your claim, make your stake in the ground and make that claim. But you've seen everything that he's done. You've seen all the promises come true, everything, and now he has led them completely out. They have their lands. People are living. And I want to point out, because I think this is an important part, because there's a lot of times the Lord blesses us, right? And it says it right here. I gave you towns and places and food and things that you didn't build, you didn't grow, you didn't cultivate, but I've given them to you. And to me, it means take care of it. Listen to my instruction. I've blessed you with these things. So you don't have to work twice as hard, because you already have the towns, you already have the homes, you already have the livestock, you already have the fields and the vineyards and the olive trees and all these things that you didn't do but are given to you. So take care of them and worship me. And so I would like to end today asking a few questions of you, because I feel that, from the very beginning of Genesis to Joshua, we have made it to a point where the promise of God and all of these things and this portion is coming to an end. And where is God asking you to step forward? Where is he asking you to step forward in faith and obedience and trust that the promises that he's made to you and has told you in this book of instruction, the whole thing, not just what we've read, even though we've read this much, all of it, right? And what are you waiting on? Because God's already spoken these things and the promises and what is for you. He is for you, not against you. And are you standing on the edge of something that maybe you're not quite seeing yet, that he's already given you, but your eyes aren't open to it? And maybe there's a decision that you need to make today. Maybe there's a decision, a choice that you need to make, so that all that has been promised to you, to be courageous and to be strong, do not fear, for I am with you. He's not going to abandon you. He has made all these promises to you. Just a thought. And next week, we are going to be in Judges, I believe. And there's going to be a lot to unpack there. So as we go through the rest of this week, as we're heading into, I can't believe we're heading into really kind of the last weeks of March, and heading into April, and heading into the Easter weekend, the resurrection of Christ. I believe it's very important to be in here and to be praying and to thanking God and to be worshiping him and to, asking him for, forgiveness of things that maybe you've said or done. I know that I do it on a daily basis. There's things that I say and do on a daily basis that definitely are not the best sometimes. And I always go to him and say, God, I'm sorry. Like, please forgive me for that. That's not my heart. That's not my intent. And I know he knows that. And so for things that you need to look forward to today or this week and things that you're waiting for, I ask you to have a moment with God and to pray with him and to ask him and to, get to the bottom of that between you and him of what's going on in your life. Because as we can see inside of all the chapters that we have read, God's promise reigns true no matter what. You could have no faith at all, and God's like, listen, I'm still gonna make this promise that I promised you, this land. You're still gonna get there. You may not get there, but I know my people are going to get there. So thank you for spending time with me today. It's such an honor as usual. And Lord, thank you so much. Thank you for showing us your promise. Thank you for showing us that courage and strength is through you, and that we can do all things through you, and that you will never fail us. You will never abandon us. There are times that we feel alone. God, you are always with us, and we serve you, Lord, and only you. There are no other gods. There's no other idols. There's nothing else but you and the goodness of you, Lord. And as each and every one of us steps into this week, Lord, that we're just reminded of that you are not going to fail us. You're not going to abandon us. And we are to be strong and courageous as we walk each step, each conversation, each phone call, each drive in our vehicles. Every decision that we make is rooted in you. In Jesus' name we pray. Amen. Once again, thank you for being here with me, and I hope you have a wonderful week, and we will see you next week. Bye, everybody.